Well, gracious greetings, St. Stephen family and guests. Welcome to another edition of Living Water for a Thirsty Thursday. Yeah, Happy New Year again. We are ready to talk about obedience. Obedience as we move forward here, maybe a week or two, talking about obedience. What does that word mean? Well, I think the personification of the word obedience is found in Philippians 2:8. Here's what it says. And being found and fashioned as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross. And if you've been around the church a couple of days, you know that passage is talking about Jesus Christ himself, who was obedient, not just to die, but obedient to come here and put on this human flesh, this obedience to live a perfect life, obedience to be spit on and to be smacked and to be embarrassed in front of his mom as he's being crucified, to be obedient to the point where he allows a crown of thorns to be pressed upon his head, and of course, obedient even unto death. Well, when you think about obedience, that's probably the extreme. That's a little bit different from being obedient to don't go and eat the cookies out of the cookie jar. It's a little different when it's, will you be obedient to go and lay down your life in a painful way, in essence, as a prisoner of war, and be beaten and slowly killed? That's some obedience. Well, that word obedience comes from that whole line of hupatasso or hupake in this regard, that really speaks to one that is attentively listening when we are obedient, and also when we are submissive, submission. And submission, when you break that down, obviously there is a mission, and we become sub or subservient to the mission. And Jesus, his obedience to the mission, showed his subserviency to God the Father. And that is where we should also want to hang out, that God has a mission, and he is looking for us to attentively listen to his mission, and then to submit to his mission by being submissive and subservient to the mission that he has all around us. And not always an easy thing for us to do, but very necessary for us to do. At the same time, and which we'll talk about next week, there's something that happens in our lives called disobedience. But before we get to that, wanted to speak to reasons, or at least a reason, that we should actually be obedient. And here's the reason. If you know John 14:23, and I'll flip over there real quick just in case you don't. Here's what John 14:23 says. Jesus answered and said unto him, if a man love me, he will keep my words, and my Father will love him, and we will come unto him and make our abode with him. And this is talking about the presence of the Holy Spirit coming in the believer. But more importantly, you hear the part where it begins, if a man love me, he will keep my words. In essence, keeping my words means attentively listening. Keeping my words means I am submissive. Keeping my words means I will submit to the mission of God. I will be obedient. But the catch there is those that love me. If, conditionally, if a man love me, he will keep my word. So is that saying when I am not following God's plan, when I am not submissive to God's will, in that moment, am I not in love with God? Or is it the love that I have for God isn't deep enough, wide enough, strong enough? It hasn't stretched over that particular area in my life? Well, one thing about submission and allowing ourselves to acquiesce, if you would, to the one that is in authority, it's not easy to just acquiesce a toe. right? It's not easy to just acquiesce this one hand, but this is really us acquiescing or us surrendering our will, right? It's surrendering our volition. It's surrendering our choice. It is surrendering me being a priority. It is surrendering my mission. It is even surrendering some of my own personal desires. All of that is wrapped up in submission to his mission. And so, Lord, I'm saying, I want to be obedient to the mission, to the heart, to the plan, to the purposes that you have for you, as well as for my life. That's what makes obedience so difficult for us to do, but also so necessary, because it then does show that love. And so when we say we love our children, and we say we love our parents, and we say we love our spouses, or we say we love our jobs, or all those things, are we willing to make the necessary sacrifices to show said love? Yeah, that's when you really know you have that love, when you're willing to submit for the mission, the greater good of the marriage, the greater good of your parent-child relationship, the greater good of the job that you are employed with, having that submission, operating from obedience. Yeah, we'll have to, I know, unpack this a little bit more with some biblical examples. I think that will flesh this out a little bit. But next week, we're going to also explore it from that side of disobedience. Why am I disobedient? Well, continue to make God proud in all you say, think, and do.